You gotta help me. I got a fever. Fever City. Today I'm going to be reviewing for you Fever City by Tim Baker. Europa Editions kindly sent this to me and allowed me to be part of the blog tour when this came out last month. So I will link that down below and somewhere up in this area probably. I highly suggest that you go and check out the blog because in it, Mr. Baker discusses how he wrote Fever City. Like I said, Europa Edition sent this to me. It is from their World Noir collection. It has the wonderful French flaps, and it is about 385 pages long with an absolutely gorgeous cover. Mr. Baker set this book apart into 3 separate books and also 3 different time periods. So the first time period is about 1960, and it follows a kidnapping. The second time period is 1963 and follows the upcoming assassination of JFK. And the third time period is 2014, in which a journalist goes to Dallas and begins meeting with conspiracy theorists and witnesses to the assassination of JFK. But the fact that there are 3 eras and 3 mini books does not mean that they are completely separated out. No, no. These 3 time periods are woven together pretty masterfully, but each section gives you more of a glimpse at each different time period. The first book is entitled Fever City and goes from page 13 to page 177. It introduces the different stories and our characters, and it focuses more in the 60s and more about the presidential assassination. So we get the beginnings of the kidnapping case and we meet the main characters there, and we get the beginnings of the 2014 journalist story. But mostly what we're seeing is Philip Hastings, who is an ex-military personnel who has now become an assassin. And he gets hired by some big-time gangsters, along with several other people, to assassinate JFK. And there are several different times where this plan goes awry, where things change, get moved around. But basically, it is a story of this military personnel, this assassin, who is supposed to be trying to kill the president. But there's more to the story than that, and I'm not going to get into it. I don't want to spoil anything big for you guys. It is definitely twisty, turny, and fabulous. Book 2, entitled The Big Deceit, goes from page 178 to 296 and focuses more on the kidnapping story, which is in and of itself a huge political move and somewhat of a deceit. So the main characters in that story are Rex Bannister, who is one of the richest men in the world, his wife, Betty Bannister, her twin sister, Elaine Bannister, and Mick Alston, who is a retired policeman. He left the force and became a PI. And then there's also Captain Schiller, who is possibly Chief Schiller. I don't remember the distinction, but he is the head of the police department where Alston used to work. He and Schiller are still very tight, but there is animosity between them. They have a very odd relationship. But Alston left the force because of his brother, who had been in the military and come back and was a security guard, I believe, and was murdered one night. And so he left the force and is attempting to find who murdered his brother, because in his mind, his brother was a little angel. But as with all of the stories, this kind of subplot to the narrative is very twisty and turny. The kidnapping case is also very twisty and turny, and there are some really big surprises awaiting you in that. The last 90 pages of the book our book 3, which is entitled The Long Oblivion, which is both in reference to the fact that we are wrapping up all of the loose ends from the book, and in reference to the fact that there is a huge twist that you may or may not see coming. I didn't see it coming until about 2 chapters before we actually got to it. In fact, it may have been more like 2 pages before we actually got to it. And the way it was done, I didn't completely see it coming until I got smacked in the face with it. I love it when things like that happen. It was absolutely phenomenally done. And though you might think that the third section would focus more in 2014, you'd be wrong. It still focuses mainly in the 1963 assassination story, but really the linchpin that holds the entire book together is that of the 1960 kidnapping case. So we get more of that, and the spokes of the wheel come out from there. But since the third book is the final 90 pages, everything is getting just brought together, and we are getting a lot of the final pieces of each story. There are some huge twists, like I said. Everything is just written very viscerally and very lyrically, and it is beautifully done. I do want to mention here that it is written in 2 different voices. The 2014 and 1960 sections are written in first person. That's Nick Alston and then the journalist. And then when we are in Philip Hastings' section, it is written in the third person. We don't get Philip Hastings as a personal narrator. That's written in third person. And I found it very interesting that he would switch like that during the book. It is very well done, and I enjoyed it immensely. It kind of gives a different look at the way the characters act and react to things. That is Fever City. I really suggest, whether or not you enjoy noir or thriller books, that you pick this up. It is well written, it is beautiful, and if nothing else, it will look really nice on your shelf. So I will leave all of the links down below, like I said, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye.